Want to know the secret sauce to skyrocketing your group practice? Whether you're already a group practice owner or aspire to be one, the Group Practice Boss Conference in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan on May 6th and 7th, 2025 is designed just for you. This isn't your typical conference. Expect TEDx-style talks that are short, focused, and packed with actionable insights. But we believe the real magic happens when you connect with others in the field. So we've built in plenty of time for networking and deep conversations. You'll leave not just with a clear plan for success, but also with new friends and a support system that will help you along the way. Don't miss out. Reserve your spot today at practiceofthepractice.com/conference. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/conference. This is the Practice of Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1089. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast. I am so excited to be hanging out with you today. We help you build a thriving practice that you absolutely love. And at the time of this recording going live, I am at the Mental Health Marketing Conference in Franklin, Tennessee. So if you happen to be there listening to this, come find me, come say hi. I'm going to be doing the closing keynote on Thursday. So that's really exciting. That's right around the corner. Well, today we're talking how to record better video. And this was actually one of our Ask the Experts. This is something we do every single month for our membership communities. So whether people are in next level practice, group practice launch, or group practice boss, they can come and ask experts all sort of questions. So the beginning of this, I do a few questions with Michael, kind of get the conversation going around video and kind of thinking through video a little bit differently. And then we just take questions and we dig in. So without any further ado, here is Michael Kent on Ask the Expert. Today, I'm really excited. We have my friend Michael Kent here. Michael specializes in helping entrepreneurs to establish their visual authority by building in-home studios that enable consistent, high-quality content tailored to resonate with their audiences. But even more than that, Michael is a friend of mine. He's somebody that he has taken pictures of my family. He lives locally here in Traverse City. And every single time that we run into each other, we have interesting conversations about what we're each working on. And it always aligns in some weird way, even if it's been, a year since we saw each other. So, Michael, welcome to Next Level Practice and our Ask the Expert. Glad you're here.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we do always it just feels like no matter what, there's some alignment, and maybe it's just, I don't know, a Northern Michigan thing. Maybe it's just like geeks who try to hustle too much. I don't know, but yeah, it's always great conversations, no matter what.
Well, awesome. Well, I know that you've got some slides to teach us. So we're going to have part of the time, Michael's going to just go through some kind of basics, types of things. So make sure you set your view to speaker. Otherwise, he's going to be really small and his slides will be even smaller. So when he starts talking, just click to speaker. While he's speaking, I just ask that you all mute. I'll do the same just so that it doesn't bounce between different people. And then when he's done, we're going to have lots of time for you to ask him questions about in-home studios and things like that. Take it away, Michael.
Yeah. And I will say I did send Sarah this slide deck. So even if it is too small, I'm going to make sure everybody has access to this stuff so you can review this later. I know it's about to be a fire hose of information. I live in this world. This is my Zoom setup. This is how I talk to my clients. So the idea that you have to retain all this information is ridiculous, and we're not going to bother with that. Okay. Visual authority. Well, let me talk about me first. I like talking about me. My name is Michael Kent. Like I said, I also live like Joe said, I live up here in Northern Michigan. I'm a portrait photographer by trade. So that's weddings, families. We got to start with high school seniors. I do corporate work, and I have a ton of experience photographing therapists in other countries. I've been on 4 tours with a bunch of both psychotherapists and food tours in Europe and South America and the United States. So I've got a pretty wide experience set, and I'm just a huge geek who has been tinkering with setting up studios and systems to make our businesses run better. And so I also help I've got some consulting clients where I help them set up both studios like this, but also just, we call it tech backends, to make sure that your business runs just a little bit more smoothly. So let's talk today, starting with visual authority. So what is this? Other than just two words smashed together, visual authority is how we show up online. This is all of the disparate parts and pieces about your Instagram account, your email signature, your website, all of these parts and pieces, both the writing, the graphics, the photos, the video, all of these things put together we describe as visual authority. So we're establishing our authority in a visual mode. This is something that is really powerful in the modern era. It's also this like holistic view that your audience can see and feel of you. Like, what do I feel like when somebody pulls up my space, my little private corner of the internet? What are they feeling when they're looking at my content? And if we're not thinking about this ahead of time, or we're just throwing out everything, going spaghetti method, throwing everything at the wall, it doesn't give this authority or this confidence, this trust that our audience has the ability to know that no matter what, they can come back to you and you will always be there. It's hard to invest in anything if we don't trust that that thing is going to kind of be there waiting for us. All right. Kind of jumped ahead a little bit here. Awesome. This starts online. This is true, but it will always bleed into real life if we let this. If I am presenting myself with confidence and strength online, and I know my audience is receiving that type of kind of energy from me, that is going to bleed into my next networking function downtown. It's going to bleed into a workshop that I run. It's going to bleed into just my daily interactions. This confidence, when you have your, ducks in a row, when you've got your house in order, it feels a lot easier just to slide into these like professional situations. So why does this matter? It is 2024. Our world is incredibly visual. Just think about, when I got started as a portrait photographer about like 12 to 15 years ago, Instagram was the new thing. It was a brand new idea that I was going to take my beautiful photos, put them on the internet in a centralized place, and I could show off what I created. The difference between today and that day is staggering. Instagram now has Reels and TikTok exists. So we are not going to go backwards. I don't think we're going to go back to the days of the printing press and like the written word being the primary mode of communication. Words do matter, but the ability to communicate visually with your audience is like going to be one of the most important aspects of how you put yourself out there online. So we want to control this. We want to be in charge of what we are how we're being seen online. And again, we want to be in control of not just how people see us, but how they feel about us when they are interacting with our brand. What is that thing that somebody can like, that ineffable idea of like just what it feels like to be dialed in to your correct audience, the messaging. When you have your visual authority set up correctly, it not only attracts the right people, and this sounds rude at first, but like you're also repelling the wrong person. We're not doing this to be crass. We're not doing this to be edgy or snarky. We are dialing in the right audience for us. So if somebody comes to me, say on the photo side of things, they come to me and they say, I really want this. I really want to hire you. Here's the type of photos that I want. And they don't feel good. It doesn't feel authentic to what I would create. That client is going to be better with somebody else. And that also probably means, unless they weren't paying attention, I have been neglecting my visual authority. I'm not putting out exactly the type of work that I know resonates with me, and then therefore should resonate with the ideal client that I have. And finally, your expertise can help people. I don't know about you, but I believe in the work that I do, whether it's my photo education work, my portrait work as a whole, my work with other, with my small businesses. I believe I can help them. But in order to do that, I kind of need to elevate myself. I need to elevate like how people see me online so that I can convince people that I'm going to be there when they need me, and my expertise can help them in some capacity. So what is our primary goal? Right now, it's twofold. We want to take control holistically and be in charge of all of the ways that people see us, all the ways that people interact with us online. We want to be in charge of the way that they feel when they communicate with us. We also want to decide what we want to put out into the world. Are we like, let's go back to my photo education space. Am I trying to be out there for every single type of photographer? I'm not. I have a take on photography that is about human connection and kindness, and we are adding like a climate action ability or aspect to our photo education community. That is how I want to be perceived. That is the audience that I want. And so I describe it in my work as like, I'm planting my flag on this part of the industry, this part of my community, and saying like, this is what I think is an important take on my job, on my craft, on my community. So what we want to ask these questions of, what is our personal authority about? What are we authoritative on? What are we good at? Who is this for? Who is it not for? Again, we don't have to be here for everybody. What does it look like visually? What does our product look like? What is the community that we were trying to build physically look like? And what does it feel like? Does it feel like a suit of armor that you're allowing your clients to go into battle with because they are hardened and strengthened? That is valid, but it is opposite of my community feels, and mine does, like a warm blanket that you like keep by the side of the fire, where you're like, I'm feeling a little chilly, I throw it on, I feel snuggly, and I feel ready to like be my full self. Those are very different, but they also very much all feel to me authentic and real, and they're something that you can use to like elevate your authority. So how do we level up? First of all, we need to have a curated and professional online space. This means you need a clean, professional, and easy to use website, and it must function exceptionally well on mobile. If your website, if you love it and it works great on your computer, but it doesn't work on your phone, and you say, it's okay, it looks great here, people will just move. Something like 80 to 90% of web traffic right now is through mobile phones. So you are leaving on the table a huge percentage of the internet traffic if your website does not work this way. And we need to design or build what I call your castle. Tomorrow, Mark Zuckerberg could decide to just close Facebook, close Instagram. It's done. It was a great run, guys, but we're going to move on to the next thing. They're probably not going to, but they could. And then your 100,000, 1 million, 10 million subscribers don't matter. They don't exist to you anymore. So what are you building now that can't be taken away from you? And my take is your website and your email list. These are two things within your castle, within your social sphere, within your authority, how you can communicate with your audience, that they cannot take from you. It's important. So we want to have our website. We want to build this castle. We also need to have the right social media pages. That does not mean that you have to have all of them. You don't want to have a ghost account out there with no information on it. But if you are a photographer, you got to have an Instagram account. You just do. Even if it's not performing like it used to, you just need to have that space. But if you are a therapist and you don't really do a lot of writing, you don't have to have a Twitter account. You just don't. Maybe you communicate more visually and you want to have that Instagram account. Just don't even have that Twitter account, because that user is going to find that and they're going to see it as empty, and they're going to say, maybe this person doesn't exist anymore. And then finally, you got to Google yourself, your name, your brand, see what comes up. And if you don't like something, find a way to get rid of it. It might just be a matter of going into that old Twitter account and deleting the account. Some of these other sites are a little trickier to get off of. So I know there are online services to help you delete these things. I'm not going to speak to any of them in particular, but I know there are services that can kind of help you clean up your reputation online. So look into that. Google yourself and make sure you know what is out there. Make sure you like what you see, because other people will see it as well. Okay. So again, how to level up. We have our curated and professional online presence. We need portraits that showcase our true self and the authority that we come with, that we carry. And this is something that is jarring for some people, but you have to have some nice video. Like if you just have a stagnant website or like a static website, it's okay. It was more okay a few years ago, but imagine scrolling through your site. You got some nice words. You've got your nice graphics. You paid a designer to make it look really good. You've got this beautiful portrait of yourself and you like how you look in this one and you think it projects the right energy. But then you scroll down a little bit and you see a nice welcoming video. Hi, thank you for coming to my page. Here's a little bit about me. Here's why I would be honored to work with you. That's going to be really powerful. So yes, photos are important as a portrait photographer. I obviously believe that, but it's not an if or. Wait, is that the right expression? It's not an either or, it's both. We need to have both nice photos of ourselves and we need, or your team or your brand, but video is just equally as important right now. Again, it can be jarring for some people. Jumping into video space can be daunting for some people. And then we need holistic messaging in all things. We need to have our tone, our tone of voice, our writing style. We need our color palettes, our branding, our graphics. All of these things should feel holistic, cohesive, universal, so that if I'm jumping from Instagram to TikTok to the website to my email list to my private community, all of these things feel like they belong in the same universe and someone doesn't feel like you've neglected some space. Okay, moving on. How do we use online video to increase our visual authority? So this is going to be a little bit of a shortened, slimmed down version of what we call our Simple Studio course. And we have so I've got tons of interesting details here for us today. Again, if you do feel overwhelmed, you will have access to the slide deck, but we also have our Simple Studio course and we're offering 20% off for anybody here. So I think I sent Sarah links for things. You can get access to that. So step one, the idea of having this, we call it a simple studio, is just having this space that feels dedicated to content creation. Here's mine. This is my space. When I'm not projecting words and graphics all over here, this is how my community sees me. They see me in this space. I can feel relaxed here. This is how I work. This is just how I look if you show up in my space. But I also have like things here, behind me. I have vintage cameras. That one's made of Lego. That's not real. I've got vintage cameras that I actually use. Like these are real tools that I use on not daily, but weekly or monthly or yearly basis. I've got books on photography and street photography and portrait photography here that I actually have read and I reference frequently, but it builds this aesthetic visual authority of who I am. You can look at this and you can know what I'm doing. The fact that I've got good lighting, the fact that I've got good rich audio lends to my authority. So the space needs to be clean, quiet. It needs to be on brand. You need great lighting. You need great audio, but it needs to be easy. I know this feels contrary to kind of what we're getting at. I should bring this back up. I know it feels contrary to what I just said. You need all of these things and it should be easy, but if it's not easy to set up, you're not going to use it, right? Like if I had to pull this camera out of a box and set it up and plug it back in and put lights up and organize the space, if I was using my spare bedroom or my actual bedroom as my studio space, it's not going to be as easy as just plopping down, pushing some buttons, turning things on, and then just creating content. That frees me up from the worry of the tech of it all and allows me to just sink in and communicate with my audience and get ideas that I've been like ruminating on for months, just get them out. And that allows me to be at my most authentic. It allows me to be at my most creative, and it allows me to create content that my audience like actually wants to hear. All right. Next step, we need to create a tech plan. This leans into making it easy to set up. This just means doing a dry run, making sure that we know how all the parts and pieces work, making sure that we know where to plug things in, that basically the first time you do this, the first time you have high quality audio, video, lighting, you've thought about the backdrop, don't do your first piece of content live. Do some runs with some friends or just by yourself. Have this space like first try, be in a safe place, because this is a labor of love. I've built this space over the past few years, and it definitely didn't look, this great when I first started. But you also want to be able to know what happens if things break. If something falls apart, you need to be able to really quickly like pull the battery, put it back in, or push the reset button, or whatever that trick is for resetting it. Practice it, play with it, know its quirks, kind of play with things ahead of time. It will, honestly, I will tell you from somebody that works in this space, the confidence, the ability to just relax and be comfortable in that space comes from pre-planning. And also that means that when I am confident, when I don't have that anxiety and stress inside me, my audience feels that, and it translates to authority. It translates for the ability for my words to matter X number of % more to my audience, because I feel deep down, I feel confidence in my convictions, in my take, and what I'm working on. Second point on this is, you can see right there, keep it easy. There's a lot of expensive, fun, cool tech out there, and mine is a little bit more fancy than some, but I would recommend you keep it simple. We'll get to specifics on some gear that I recommend later, but this is the most simple microphone that I liked the audio from, that I highly, highly recommend. I don't have like a audio interface with lots of extra cables and wires and things to go wrong. This just is a USB mic that plugs into my microphone. It just happens to be a fairly nice one. Fairly nice. It's not very expensive either, which is a huge perk. Where are we? Yep. All right. Next step. We need to create a cohesive content strategy. So now, let's say for all intents and purposes, you fully understand how you're going to build this space, why you need it. It's all dialed in. You got all the right things. You got a bunch of Amazon boxes showing up at your door, and it's working. Cool. You have a studio, and what are you doing with it? Right? So we need to create a strategy for how to create content in this space, and not just how, but when, where, what does it sound like? What does it look like? Where are you writing down your ideas ahead of time? Is there a space that you can keep notes and keep track of all of the parts and pieces of the things that you do? Where are you sharing those ideas with other people? You have a team and you're like brainstorming back and forth. All of these things come into what we call a content creation strategy. So am I putting it on Instagram? Am I also repeating that and putting it on, TikTok or LinkedIn? Am I creating in my studio? Am I creating on the road? Am I creating a mobile setup so that I can take it in the photography world? Am I taking it to one of my workshops? Am I asking people in the field, tell me your biggest problems? Like what aspect of this gear don't you understand? That's part of my content creation strategy. Where I'm putting it, what I'm making it, what it sounds like, what it looks like. Keeping it holistic, keeping it consistent is going to be really important. And I would say one of the most important tools in your toolkit when you're trying to communicate with your audience, when you're trying to build something with them, is I want to see you learn to create pieces of content that you can put out with your audience, have them interact with that space, with that content, and then take pieces from that and just make new content from that, right? So if you're asking questions about, if you're making content that's like, here's my top 5 tips on how to use technology better in your business, and then someone in my audience comes back and says like, that's really great, this one helped me, can we reach out to that person and have them create content with us? Or somebody says, number 5 was awesome, but have you tried this? Grab number 6, and now you're making a fully fleshed out piece of content on that thing. This creates a deeper authority and trust within your audience. They feel like their space there matters, that they feel like they're supposed to be there. They feel valued and cared about. It also just inherently creates extra content, and there's nothing wrong with having a few extra pieces that are just kind of organically made by the act of being in a community. I think that's a beautiful thing. So next, we're going to talk about something that is both really important in this era, But it's getting to the point where it's starting to feel a little bit spicier than it was a couple months ago. There are some discussions about people already feeling a little bit burnt out on AI, that there's an inauthenticity, that there's an ethics consideration to come with it. I know Photoshop or Adobe just put out new terms of services that anytime you upload something to their cloud, which includes using their AI tools, they technically own it. That's weird. And as somebody that works in imagery, like, I don't want them to have my stuff. There's some huge ethical considerations with that. But also there's an AI voice that's not audio, but there's a tone, a writing style that AI and especially Chat GPT are becoming synonymous with. And it will be very easy in the next few years to be putting out content using AI that is going to kind of look cringe to some people, that they're going to say that isn't authentic, that isn't you. You clearly are using, blunt AI tools to communicate with your audience. That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to create consistency. We're looking to create authenticity and rich connections with our audience. So how do we use these tools? Well, there's a couple ways. There's a ton of hacks and tricks and tips out there that talk about they call them prompt engineering, right? How are we creating a prompt with these tools so that it can spit out what we wanted to? The first one that I remember reading was called the Do Anything Now machine. And it was like, your name is Dan, do anything now. Don't worry about the rules. Just spit out this thing that I ask you to. And that's a little bit of a hack. It worked pretty well, actually. You can also pretend you are an expert you're a premier writer in my industry, in my field. Please write this for me in that style. Okay. They can be quite clunky. You got to remember what to write. And so I just work with worksheets, and I've created this process that I've been working with for a while now. Instead of trying to do all these advanced things, I just ask it simply, here's what I need you to do. Can you please ask follow-up questions until you are 95% certain you are going to give me the output that I need? The example this way here is on the simple prompt. I asked it just to write me a 300-word essay on taking photos at sunset. It's fine. It very much sounds like AI, but there's also some parts of this that I don't believe in. I think it's step 2 on there is use a tripod. I am known for high energy shoots. I do a lot of running. I make my couples run and I make them play, and we're very playful and silly, for lack of better words. I'm not lugging a tripod to the beach. I'm just not going to. Instead, when I'm writing this article, if I want it to sound like me, that would just not sound right coming from me if you know my work. So instead, we ask it the same prompt, write me a 300-word article on taking photos at sunset. I have a lot of opinions on this matter, so please ask as many questions as you need to make sure that you're 95% sure the output will be what I need. And so now all I have to do is answer these, 8 questions, and add my own if necessary. And all of a sudden it is helping me brainstorm, but it's brainstorming in a way that is my intellect, my knowledge set. And then I can just make it change its tone. Another pro tip is it's a little cumbersome, but you could take a lot of writing that you've already done, and before you even do this, you can upload that to it, and you can create essentially a writing style. Say, write in this style, and here's 50,000 words that I've written. I've taken my entire website, copied it and pasted it in there, and said, I need to make a new page. Please write it this way. And then again, ask follow-up questions to get to where we know that I need to be before you actually spit anything out. So that is something that I use constantly. I'm using it I use AI both for this style where I'm writing articles, but I also use it just to brainstorm ideas for my business. When I'm working on a new course for my online education space, I'm constantly putting in all these ideas that I'm working on and having it kind of flesh them out for me. And then I go back and I modify them and I write them in my own way so that it feels more authentically me. I don't want it to have that AI tone. I don't want it to have information that doesn't feel like me. So it is a push and pull. But I highly recommend you use, I like ChatGPT, but I highly recommend you use that one. And the name tells you what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a conversation between, and just really work on, asking it these questions, making it ask questions of you so you can answer them, so you can get that most authentic, that most, get, I'll level up our authority at the same time of just in terms of just making content instead of just making content. Okay. And I'm going to go over kind of my last slide for us here. Some tools. I wanted to keep this really simple because I did not want to overwhelm you. If you are not a particularly techie person, if you are techie, there's a ton of cool stuff we can do, right? Like the way that my room is set up is very, very, I wouldn't even say elaborate, just high tech. That's great. I can turn my lights on and off with pushes of buttons over here. That's great. But for today, I wanted to give you some things that you could use to level up your technology in ways that would not overwhelm and break the bank. So step one, we talked about it. This microphone is incredibly rich sounding for what it is. I think I paid like $80 or $90 for it. And there are much more expensive microphones on the market, but they also require you to have a much deeper knowledge in audio engineering. So this one is the ATR 2100X USB by Audio-Technica. Super simple. I've got a little boom arm for it. And this alone, if you take nothing away from this, but you level up your microphone, I will be very happy.
I just have to jump in here and say Audio-Technica, it was the first mic that I started with. And I would say as a starter, like affordable mic, Audio-Technica is awesome for plug and play.
Right.
We got to become affiliates for them though, buddy.
Say it again.
We should become affiliates.
Ooh, I'm interested.
I am so excited about Alma. When I had my private practice, I struggled building my caseload, attracting the right clients, managing the business side. And honestly, one of the reasons I didn't take insurance was it was so difficult to navigate. So many of my consulting clients deal with these problems as well. And Alma supports clinicians in building rewarding private practices with simplified insurance credentialing in under 45 days, enhanced reimbursement rates, and guaranteed 2-week payback. Plus, a free profile in their searchable, filterable directory, making it easy for clients who are the right fit for your practice to find you. Learn more about how Alma could support your private practice at helloalma.com/Joe. That's hello, ALMA.com/Joe to learn more.
Next step is ChatGPT. Obviously, and we talked about it already, but I do the paid version. I really like having access to what we call custom GPTs, and it's a silly name. Think of them as apps. The ability to make a custom app that just allows you to really dial in what you need from it. That's where I have one I call it our Alan Kent photo blog writer. I've got my photo club blog writer, and I've got my help desk blog writer that I've uploaded all of my writing samples to it. And I just got a little button, click on the thing, and then it knows exactly what I need from it. Still using worksheets, but it already has my tone, my style, the words that I do not want it to use, and things I just aggressively say, please never, ever, ever use these words, already pre-dialed in. So ChatGPT, incredibly powerful tool. You can get away with the free version, but using the paid one has some perks for sure. Next is Google Drive. If you are not if you come to this world originally not being a content creator and you're kind of deciding to move into that space, please organize your stuff. I can't remember the numbers, but I know I saw some article years ago about like the number of hours wasted every year in the United States for content creators recreating pieces of art. And it's I know I have it somewhere. Let me find it. You spend 20 minutes looking for something and you go, it's just going to be faster. I'm just going to make it again. So my hope for you, my ask is if you are just getting started, please find an organizational system and stick with it. It's something that I help with my clients, but it doesn't really matter what you do, just have something. If you are already in the weeds and you really don't like your organizational system, my pro tip for you is just start today. You're going to have a hard time taking all of yesterday's content and putting it into your new system. So don't. Just start simply. Today is the beginning of my life again. I'm going to organize my things, whether it's by date, by time, by session type, by media type, whatever. Pick something and roll with it. But don't worry about your backlog until you've got some time. And you might not have time. So you can pay someone to do that maybe. But just get going now. Just because in 5 years, if you didn't start today, you're going to regret 5 more years of having bad content organization. Believe me, you'll be happy. And having it in some place like Drive or Dropbox or something like that just means that you can really quickly have access to things. I can send it off to my assistant and I know that these pieces of content can get up there incredibly rapidly. We just brought on a blog writer, and I know that she is going to be able to access my photos, my writing prompts, because she will be putting them into ChatGPT. And all of those are available to her from anywhere in the world because our entire team is based wherever the heck they want to be. Most of them are based in Traverse City, but everybody likes to travel on my team, which is great. And then Spicy Take, iPhone, smartphone, some sort of modern phone. It's a great content tool. I have a lot of cameras, you guys, like a lot. I've got GoPros and gimbal cameras and very high. I have some of the most expensive cameras in the world. And if you don't have it with you, it's not doing you any good. So if you are just starting your content journey, getting a nice phone with great optics, with that takes nice photos, takes nice videos, will be a huge upgrade for you. And then, like talking about this guy, some sort of set of wireless microphones can be incredibly powerful and a really nice upgrade. These specifically are the DJI Mic 2 set. These are, all in kind of expensive, depending if you're just getting started or not, but they're all right here. They're clean, and the audio from them is way better, especially if you have your camera set way over there. You have the ability to kind of walk around, move around. This comes with a set of 2 mics, so I can mic myself and a podcast guest or a member of my community, and we can have a conversation, and it brings it back to the camera that I have on hand without having to do a lot of jumping through hoops and bells and whistles. And that's me, Michael Kent. That's my stuff. I got a lot of knowledge in my head, and that's my organized version, but we can talk. We can share. I'm happy to answer any questions for as long as people want to hang out.
Michael, I love it. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
I would love everyone in the chat, if you can, in one sentence or smaller, no 2 sentences, just one sentence. What's one big takeaway, something you appreciate about what Michael just said, some action you're going to take, one aha moment in one sentence. You can't do 2. One sentence. Drop that in there. And then after we see some of that stuff come through, we're going to take questions. So if you have questions about kind of technical things and it's just like, here's my question, drop that into the chat, and then we'll just read that to Michael and he'll answer it. If you want to go back and forth a little bit, feel free to just unmute yourself, and we're all adults here, we have a smaller group, and you can say, hey Michael, I have a question that I think there might be a little back and forth. So first one I see in here is not sure if this is in the scope of your presentation. By any chance you have any advice for my website? I can appear on video and audio to ask you as well. So that link, and let me just pull that up, and then let's just do a screen share of it. All right. And we'll just do a quick look at it, Michael. I know that you do more of the video stuff. Is that coming through okay, Michael?
Yeah, it's great.
Cool. So yeah, let's just kind of talk a little bit about what you're seeing about Arnab's website. What do you
Michael,
like?
great presentation. I'm Arnab.
Say it again.
Great presentation, Michael. I'm Arnab.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Arnab is how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Joe, go back all the way to the top, if you would. This slot is the most important slot by far in your website. This is the first visual impact that your audience is going to see. And we talked a little bit about building your castle. If someone hands me a business card and it's got my website on it, and I know nothing about you. I've never heard of you. You're not famous to me, but I know I need your services, and I see this site. I immediately I assume MD stands for medical doctor, but there's nothing about this right off the top that explicitly tells me who you are or what you do. Again, the words are there, but we're talking visually. I want we live in the era of TikTok and Instagram, and I want without any question, within a fraction of a second, I want to know precisely what it is that you do. So that might mean if you're a solo practitioner, that maybe you have a portrait of yourself, or maybe you've got do a mock session and have some photos of you comforting someone. Again, I don't know precisely what you do. If you're a group practice, you can have photos of your people up there, or just somebody, again, interacting with somebody in a way that makes them feel comforted. But this all matters about the energy that we want to put out in the world, right? What are we trying to be seen for right away? And we can dig in and look at the words you've written. What does the next 3 pages look like? I've got an about section and all that. That's great. But our immediacy of the top of the fold is super powerful, because people will bounce. People will look at this and go I don't know, I'm overwhelmed. I'm gonna look at the next thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I've got a video in there too.
Cool. I would argue, was that top of the fold? Was that a video?
Banner. Why I'm unique for you, and then there's a series of 6 videos.
Joe, can you pull it back up for me?
Yes. So that's above the fold, and then scroll down.
Hold on. I'm actually pulling it up on my over here just so I can take a look at it too. Those are great. So first of all, all right, let me just check one more time. One really positive thing, 2 constructive criticisms. I will say it is very, very text heavy. What I'm looking through here, once I get past the first fold, I honestly feel I'm more looking at a medical journal than I am the home or the castle of welcome to my universe. I have something great to share with you. I'm really excited you are here. This top level, the photo at the very top is very institutional. It feels medical and professional, and that's great. But it really depends on why are we bringing people here? And then I go down to the next one, and it's just this wall of text with a bunch of bolds and underlines, and that's great. But nobody's going to read that. There's no reason. When you go from the very top of this medical institution down to why is this doctor right for you, I need something much more meaty to grab onto right away. I would argue visually it should be either a really nice, warm, inviting portrait of you, or again, working, doing your job, being in your field, doing your thing. This level of text is a wall that is going to be very hard to get somebody to read. But then once you go past that, these videos are great. I haven't even read them. I haven't watched them, obviously, but the fact that there's a whole fleet of good, valuable content for people, that's amazing. I need to know why I'm watching these. And as of right now, I have no clue what you do. I don't know what your practice is. And the fact that I'm not reading it, I'm actually just I'm having a visual reaction to the website and communicating with you guys is actually how your audience is going to see this. Right? You're not going to get people to just sit down and read a novel about you right away. We need to have punchy graphics up top, a nice or punchy photo right up top to draw them in. You need what's called a call to action right away. So that instead of it just saying your name, MD, and then what you do, some sort of why am I here? What is the point of me showing up on this website? Me being your potential audience. And if we had that up front, then you can put in here's my credentials, here's why I'm important, here's why I'm highly qualified at my craft, and then also here's why I should be the right doctor for you. Does that make sense?
Okay, I appreciate
We
that.
got some more questions coming in. Thanks for kicking that off for us.
Yeah.
So some actions. Wendy's going to be regularly scheduled making videos, and Matthew said very helpful ChatGPT application using rules and prompting. The next question is, do MacBook Pro cameras work well, or would you recommend something other than that?
They work well in that they are fine. I find this is like a weird, like I've got a tick about this, but the number of times that I've taken people's like camera phones and just rubbed the grease off of them, and then they go, wow, that's been bugging me for like 3 years. Same thing with your MacBook. It's going in your bag. If you're rubbing your thumb on that bit of that lens right there, it's going to get greasy and it's going to look smeary. Step one, clean your camera. Step two, I hesitate to say anything is a better upgrade. Like the newest MacBooks have pretty good webcams. If I had to choose between you upgrading your webcam to like a professional camera, like this setup that you're talking to me on is somewhere between like $4,000 and $7,000, which I'm not advocating for people to go out and get. I'm a professional photographer and content creator. Of course, I'm going to have a nicer camera, but I would actually rather you upgrade your microphone before I say, here's like the next best camera that I can get you in front of. Does that make sense? So you can totally get away with it today. When you're ready to like upgrade to something, I've got, recommendations on that stuff.
Awesome. Keep those questions coming in. Feel free to unmute also if you have some questions that you want to go back and forth on as well.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really helpful for me in terms of the marketing piece. But I'm transitioning full-time to being a telehealth therapist. And when I was in office, my space was very important to me. I feel like that's part of the therapeutic process. I think a client feeling comfortable, it's a space that's, is who I am and that makes them feel like it's a safe, comfortable space for them. And it's really important to me. I really want to create my telehealth space as much like that as I can, as much as the in-person space, even from like, how the camera is set up, how loud I speak, just, the visual behind me, all of that stuff. And which I think speaks a little bit to your what you said in the beginning, that all the visuals really, communicate kind of who you are and what your practice is. And I'm just wondering if you have any good advice sort of specifically to that, sort of someone who does just online therapy, how to create a good space for that. And maybe that's outside the scope of this, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
It's not outside the scope. It is outside of the scope in that like that is the whole goal, right? That is, of all of the things that we're trying to accomplish, that's kind of everything. There are some practical tips. Like I will say that, correct me if I'm wrong, because I have worked with a bunch of therapists in the past, and I know that the transition to telehealth has been jarring for some. I've talked to some that feel like it's like not possible with the way that they operate, but the environment that I'm in right here, I personally would be comforted by somebody who has this like engagement, presence, like this space feels comfortable, even though you're probably not sitting in my studio right now. I would say if I can compare like mine to the setup that you're speaking through, your audio is definitely a problem, and your lighting, those two things alone, I tell people to check their backgrounds. Yours actually looked quite good. I see like your credentials back there. I like the warm wood. Yep. I like those things. Notice that my video feed looks very like warm and kind of like yellow and like browns. Yours has two like core problems with it. One is that it's very cold. It's very like blue and green, and that's because of the light behind or off to your,
window
I
right
assume.
Next to me here.
Yeah. I do too. The difference is that like I'm accounting for that with my camera. And my lighting is dialed in to accentuate that light and bring this warmth in as opposed to cool it down. But that's happening to you because of the second point, which is you've got multiple colored light sources. You've got your warms behind you that like I can never tell if it's flipped or not. Over one of your shoulders, you've got a kind of a table lamp, and that is warm and brown. That's kind of the same as like my little triangle here.
Right.
But because we're not accounting for this, mine is accounted for. So you've got cool light coming in, and you've got warm light behind you, and it's making this on you look very like teal and cool. And that humans resonate with warm colors. We call them warm because they feel close to the sun. And so that light, I don't know what's outside your window. It could be that you've got like a lot of pine trees out there and it's casting some greens on there. So as much as I love my window lighting, sometimes I will, like I've got half of my window lighting closed here and I've got studio lighting up here instead. But you could also just turn off all of your overheads and get rid of all the other lighting and get closer to that window. And hopefully in your camera software somewhere, you can adjust the, that we'll call it color temperature. And if you only have one light color, it's a lot easier to change your color temperature.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Cool. Yeah, very helpful.
Let's see if we have any final questions before we wrap things up. Here's one. A topic members often wonder about is how to find the optimal balance between images and text on a website. Thinking of your statement that we live in a visual world, what would you recommend as an optimal balance between images and text on a therapist's website?
I think if we're looking at the first couple impactful spots on the site, like the top of the fold, the first full page, we want to be really conservative with the number of words on there. But you can really make a lot of good use of hierarchy. So having the main banner headline, like you've got your, splashy image up top, and then you say something like, I'm here, I'm ready to listen, I really want to work with you, and here's why. And then you can have longer text underneath that, but really taking advantage of like your headlines and really breaking it down. Like this first above the fold is just my splashy grab, my call to action, and then underneath that it's like here's my why I think my take on this industry is important. And then you could have a paragraph or two underneath that. But more than anything else, I want you to, either yourself or someone you trust, if I scroll through your site and I can understand what I'm seeing without reading the paragraphs, I can get away with just reading the bulleted headlines, if you will, then you're going to have something that's splashy. I would say give somebody the luxury of skimming, and then if they want to dig in deeper, have that rich content for them. It could either be that headlines link out to sub pages, an about page, a practice page, a Q&A page or whatever, or it's just like big chunky headlines, what did I say? Practice, Q&A, about me. And then they know what they're getting at. Know what you're getting at rather. And then you can fill them in with smaller text in the kind of paragraph formats.
So awesome. We've got some questions about doing consulting with you, about that Simple Studio course. Do you mind speaking briefly about how they can sign up for that course, get that discount, and then any emails or best ways to reach out to you? And then we'll call it a day.
Yep. So the best way to reach out is through all of my emails go to the same place. They'll go to my assistant, but Michael, Michael at allenkentphoto.com, ALLENKENTPHOTO. The course is available at ourhelpdeskstudio.com/practice. That will give you direct access to the 20% discount and direct access to the course. And you can reach out to me at either that website or my email address. It's a contact form on the helpdeskstudio.com website. Sorry, ourhelpdeskstudio.com website. That will give you direct access to me, or you can just use Michael at allenkentphoto.com and reach out that way.
Awesome. I just put your email and ourhelpdeskstudio.com in the chat. So if that's something you're interested in, just copy that, open that in a tab so you don't lose it as we leave this room. And let's give it up for Michael. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time. Joe, you built some really cool stuff.
Oh, so glad you're joining our community in this capacity. It's awesome, man. Can't wait to run into you downtown somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see ya.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Well, I hope you feel inspired to do better video with your private practice and with your marketing. Video is one of those things that, with the level of video we have on our smartphones now, you don't need to have that much equipment. Sure, it can look beautiful. You can do really amazing setups. And you can also do things off your phone as well to just get things started, to start talking to your ideal audience. Now, we couldn't do the show without our sponsors, and Alma is our sponsor today. Alma supports clinicians in building rewarding private practices. They help with insurance credentialing in under 45 days. You get better reimbursement rates and a guaranteed 2-week payback. You can find out more over at helloalma.com/Joe. That's helloalma.com/Joe. Thank you for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.